What's up guys, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to yet another video on the channel, and today we're finally doing something other than a Fright Nights update. Honestly, I've been doing Fright Nights updates for the last 6 weeks now, and I haven't really had the chance to make any other videos that I wanted to make. So yeah, in today's video that changes. Today I'm going to be going over the day that I conquered my fear of roller coasters. There's a couple of different reasons why I wanted to do this video. One of them being I just think it'd be fun for some of you guys to see how I conquered my fear of roller coasters and how I kind of became an enthusiast. But also, if there's anyone out there at the moment that's a bit scared of roller coasters, maybe this video can give a little bit of a different perspective on how to conquer that fear. So yeah, without further ado guys, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Let's get right into the video. So I wanted to just give a bit of context as to where my mind was at in 2017 to 2018. I've always kind of had a connection to theme parks. You know, my mum and dad always used to take me and my little sister, you know, to Chessington, Legoland. We used to do all of the kind of rides over there. And you know, I have a really nostalgic feeling towards a lot of the parks, specifically the Merlin parks. However, I'd never really gone on roller coasters before. It was kind of something I was a bit too scared to do, other than maybe like the Dragon ride over at Legoland. That's probably the extent of what I'd done up to this point. Whilst I was still kind of going to different, you know, theme parks across the UK, you know, just for fun, it never really kind of became a hobby for me until a little bit later on. And you know, my fear of roller coasters throughout this entire period was very prominent. It was in fact one of the main things that was kind of holding me back. I remember going to Chessington on a school trip once, and me and my mate, we'll call him Dave. Me and Dave went on Vampire for the first time, and it was really, really scary. Like, I remember being proper scared to get on Vampire, and this was when I was like 12, 13. So yeah, I wasn't exactly a brave person at this kind of point in time. I absolutely was terrified of roller coasters. So that's kind of where my mind was at prior going into the story I'm about to tell you. Now in late 2017, we had reacquired the Merlin Pass again. This was just because they were on offer and it was just something fun to do for like the summer and stuff. And I remember going to Chessington with a couple of my friends. So I remember kind of asking my mum, like, oh, can we go to the Chessington Halloween event this year since we've got Merlin passes? And of course she said yes. And we went to the Halloween event and absolutely had a great time. So it was this trip on Halloween that kind of started the spark of my interest in theme parks. You know, I had an absolutely amazing time at Chessington for Halloween, and over the course of that close season, kind of from 2017 going into 2018, I remember kind of getting a bit more involved with some of the stuff that was happening, obviously across a lot of the parks. This was sort of the time I started watching Jack Silkstone's videos, like I started getting a lot more involved. And I'd finally kind of decided around Christmas time that I wanted to conquer my fear of roller coasters. So yeah, we booked a trip to Thorpe Park. I was going with a couple of my friends, and we were ready to go for opening weekend in March. Okay, so now we finally come to the day itself, the day I finally conquered my fear of roller coasters. So with a little bit of context to the two friends that I was going with, we'll call them Johnny and Bill. So these were kind of my closest friends as I was going through secondary school. And I do think this is part of the reason that I managed to overcome the fear this day, was because I was with my mates. I think if I was with my family, and I think this is something I tell a lot of people who say they're a bit scared of roller coasters, if you go with someone you know is going to get on the rides and you know you're going to feel left out if you don't, then it kind of gives you a bit more of an incentive to kind of boost your courage and get onto the, you know, the roller coaster itself and finally try to experience it. And that is exactly what happened this day. Now, at the start of the day, I'll be honest, I was quite excited, but I was also really, really nervous. I remember making as little breakfast as possible that morning for myself because I really didn't want to be sick. And that kind of, you know, leads me into something, a bit of a misconception when it comes to roller coasters. Anyone out there who's kind of scared about being sick, it's not really that much of an issue. I thought the same thing before I conquered my fear. I was absolutely terrified of throwing up. But from experience, I've never thrown up on the roller coasters. In fact, the closest I've ever been to throwing up, and this is a true story, was on the teacups at Thorpe Park. So, you know, it's not really something you've got to worry about. I know there's a lot of people out there that do worry about being sick on roller coasters, but it's really not as common as you think. So yeah, we got up bright and early that morning. We headed up to Thorpe Park. We got our tickets through, and at this point I was really nervous. Like, the excitement had kind of faded a little bit. It was very much a situation where you know, it was a double-edged sword. Like, I was excited that I was trying to finally conquer my fear of roller coasters, but on the flip side, I was absolutely terrified of the roller coasters. But nevertheless, we walked in, we got through the gate, we walked up into the dome, and then we finally caught a glimpse of the first roller coaster that we were going to be going on that day, and that was the Swarm. Now, this is something that kind of became a bit of a tradition between me and my friends as the years went on, because obviously it's the closest to the entrance it was just made sense to go on first. So as we kind of headed over to the Swarm, I remember looking up at it, and this is something I've really become desensitized to now. That it wasn't until filming and thinking about this video that I kind of realised is how big these roller coasters are. I remember standing underneath Swarm in like 2018, thinking it was like absolutely huge. And of course it still is now, but obviously over the course of the years, I've now kind of experienced these roller coasters a lot more, and I've kind of gotten used to how they look. But yeah, I remember being petrified walking through Swarm Island for the first time. However, I think this moment is very key, even though I was really terrified. As I was walking through Swarm Island, I just remember being in awe, like the theming, the music, everything kind of just made me really interested in the industry as a whole. And I think that's kind of the important thing to note here. You can still be interested in theme parks and be an enthusiast without going on roller coasters, as mad as it sounds. Like, I remember watching during the previous close season all of the Wicker Man updates. I remember being really involved in it a lot of it, you know, but I hadn't ridden these roller coasters yet. So if there's anyone out there that feels a bit embarrassed for not experiencing these roller coasters but really wants to get involved with the community, it's still there. Like, you can still get involved, you can still watch videos. But I do think it is worth at least trying some of these roller coasters to get a bit of a feel for it. So with this kind of interest in mind, this was probably the first time that this had kind of taken hold of me. As I was walking through Swarm Island, as much as I was scared, the intrigue and the kind of interesting thoughts that I had about the ride kind of helped me along a little bit. That combined with the fact that I was with my friends that I didn't want to look embarrassing in front of, you know, got me onto that ride for the first time. And because that fear and tension had kind of died down a bit, I made what is probably a very silly mistake. As I got to, you know, the station, I was talking with my friends, I got really overconfident, and we kind of got to the bit where it kind of splits off between the left and the right side, you know, of the Swarm. We had the left side on our first ride, and I remember kind of getting towards the station, getting to the bit where you choose which row you're going in, and I just turned to Bill and I just said, why don't we go on the front? And then I just remember kind of sitting there after I'd said it out loud, and he had agreed with me, like, oh yeah, we should go on the front, like, yeah, this would be great. I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, you stupid mother. And it was kind of in that moment that all of that kind of calmness and, you know, release of tension that I had just gone completely out the window, and it then just became pure fear. However, I got in the ride, I got myself strapped in, and at that point, there was nothing I could do. I was on the ride, and that was it. And I still remember that first ride I had on the Swarm was absolutely electric. I remember coming off of that ride just full of adrenaline, being really excited. And that's the thing about these roller coasters. A lot of people will build up an idea in their mind about how they think the ride's going to go. Until you've been on it, it's kind of one of them things where you kind of make it out in your brain to be worse than it is. So yeah, I then had my first ride on an upside down roller coaster. Finally rode the Swarm, I got off it, I loved it, me and my mates were laughing, we were having a great time. We ended up going on all of the other rides at Thorpe Park, and I remember that evening was the turning point. That was when I kind of sat there and I thought, I actually genuinely love this. That had always been there with the interest in, you know, the park itself and looking at construction, but having that day where I'd finally, you know, felt the feeling of conquering this fear for the first time, that really launched, you know, that intrigue that I had. And at that point I started making videos, and this was on my old channel. At the moment this is obviously a fairly new channel that I started a few months ago, but some of you may know a few years ago I had a channel called Theme Park Merlin, and this was kind of a channel that I grew from 2017 up until about 2021. And I do remember making videos and stuff after that point, you know, getting excited about things, and I got a lot more involved in the community. It was a really interesting moment, actually. It's quite funny now that I look back on it. But I remember a few weeks after going to Thorpe Park on this date, I'd kind of spoken to my dad, and I'd been watching a few Jack Silkstone's videos about the Walking Dead rides. I remember saying to my dad, like, I was like, oh Dad, can we go to Thorpe Park again in spring, or in spring half term, like the Walking Dead ride's opening? And I remember him turning to me and just going, no, we went last month, like that's it, like it cost us a lot of money to go. And I kind of remember sitting there, and I was just like so invested in everything that was going on in these theme parks. And I remember my dad kind of had a bit of a turning point at that stage. I think he kind of saw how much enjoyment I was getting out of this, and I was genuinely deadly serious about being like really excited about this and wanting to go and experience it. So of course we went on the Walking Dead ride, absolutely loved it. That's why I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Walking Dead ride now. But I think at this point it was kind of quite relieving for my mum and dad, because over the course of like year 7, I really didn't fit in at school. I was really like nervous, had a lot of anxiety. So moving into year 8, when I was kind of experienced a lot of this and kind of getting to know my new friends, you know, going out and doing this sort of thing, you know, and having a hobby within making these videos and going out to these theme parks, having fun, like it really put a smile on my face, but I would imagine it also gave a bit of relief to my mum and dad because I was finally enjoying something. Like I was hanging out with my friends. It was a really nice moment to have, and I do think the theme park community as a whole, like it has its moments where it's a little bit like, oh,
ain't I'm a little bit,
but overall, like it's a really friendly place and it's a really nice place that we can all connect and have fun and just kind of, you know, use this as a hobby, you know, and kind of share our experience with this hobby. Like, over the course of the years, of course, I've picked more hobbies up as I go along, but you know, this was kind of the first one where I was like, oh, I really want to invest my time into this, and I was constantly making videos, looking at videos, watching stuff, going up to Thorpe Park. Like it was a really special time to me that I look back on really, really fondly now, and the fact that I'd filmed a lot of that and it's all still on YouTube, like it gives me something to go back and look on. And I think of myself now and making these videos for this channel, and in 5 or 6 years I may even look back on these videos just as fondly. It's just a really nice kind of experience to have. I absolutely love being an enthusiast. It's literally like my entire life now. You know, I'm a full-grown adult now, God forbid, like that's more dangerous than it sounds. And the fact that I can go up to Thorpe Park every week now and film videos and have fun, like 12-year-old me would be losing his mind right now, and that's why I'm so happy that I got on that roller coaster that day, because I would never be doing what I'm doing now and having this amount of excitement and fun around it. And this is why I do urge a lot of people, if you're interested in theme parks and you're interested in roller coasters, try and get on them. Try and just push yourself, try some of them out. If you get on them and you don't like them, you can still be an enthusiast, no shame in that. But there's a lot of things you know, that these roller coasters can provide you experience-wise that can really like elevate that experience of being an enthusiast for you and really kind of boost your intrigue like it did me. But even this year, I've seen it with my little cousin. You know, he was absolutely terrified of roller coasters last year, and I've watched him over the course of this theme park season go on Hyperia, go on Soar, go on Colossus, which are all things that I'm used to now. But for him, that was like overcoming one of his biggest fears, and it was really, really, you know, a really proud moment for me, oddly enough, to see him get over those fears, because I was in his shoes at one point, you know, and in 5 or 6 years time, he's going to be in my shoes that I'm in now. Maybe not necessarily making videos, but he's going to be a lot more involved in things. You know, he's going to have a lot more excitement, and, you know, he's going to have found that kind of thing that he really enjoys doing. And that to me is really, really special. And I really encourage people to pursue it as much as they can, regardless of, you know, the fears that they have, because I think it's really important. Okay then, so that's going to kind of do it for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did go on to enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe. Whether you're fully into theme parks and you're an enthusiast like me, or you just kind of got a general interest in the industry as a whole, I hope you find some content on my channel that you enjoy. You know, there's a lot of new video ideas that I've got conjuring up that I'm really excited to bring out over the next few months during close season. So yeah, so without further ado, guys, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, and I will see you guys in the next video.